always felt like in local elections where I always feel like my vote counts more than when I'm voting for president, because when I'm voting for president, I mean, I'm still showing up at the same place. It's the same woman who's, checking my signature and leading me over to pointing me to the proper voting booth. But I feel like when I vote for mayor of my town or my council, like my person who's going to represent my ward in council, I feel like my voice means a little bit more, because this is the community where I live. I don't live in Washington, D.C., and the president, whoever it may be at the time, is not the person who is making sure that my trash is collected on time, that, the neighborhood is clean and swept, and all the types of neighborhood issues that we may have. It's the people who are local, and those elections really are so important. They may not have the greatest attendance as when there's a presidential election or a senator, when we're really hearing the advertisements and knowing who's there, just because they're always in our face in the media. It's not so much with the local elections, but it's so important to really know what's going on in your community and to be active in that. And that's one way that we can, vote small. We can also, acting small is where you really make a bigger difference.
Right. And I've been saying what you just said for the last 25, 30 years. Politics is local. Yeah. And I tell people, when I see the turnout every cycle, 4-year cycle, in, say, for example, Philly, there's 4 cycles. You got the presidential, you have the governor, you have the mayor, and then you have, like this year, district attorney and judges. So in that order is the turnout. So this year is the lowest turnout. They might get 12%. And I tell people, get out and vote. These are more important than a presidential election. These are local elections. And I've been telling people, just get out and vote. But for some reason, they only vote every 4 years. But they're not helping their neighborhood. They're not because the district council people can really help you, or your state representative can help you more than the president. I can make a phone call right now to your state rep. I could call the city councilman right now for help. Can't call the president.
Yeah, and Gary, I'm really glad you said that, because we're working on a webinar for Vote Small, and there's this psychology of we were around the 80s, so everything was go big or go home kind of thing. But it's not that small is less than or diminutive, as Sue, you were saying, and Dan, but the accessibility gives you more control. So your power can be exerted more locally than it can, at the federal level. And by the time all the media hype and it's like this big Super Bowl of politics is going on, you've lost like your place in it. Really, you're just a kind of a cog at that point. So we're trying to get people. We hope to do this webinar where we encourage people. Did you say 12% turnout? That's abysmal for this cycle, which is DA and controller, right?
DA, controller, and judges. People, for some reason, don't think judges are important, but when you see cases being thrown out all the time, it's not about the police, it's about the judges throwing the cases out and the DA throwing. So, this is important.
We have 4 years. If we think of what a debacle 2020 was, we have 4 years now, starting with this primary in the Philadelphia area. I guess the primaries are already going on, but to really start this vote small thing. And the funny thing is, Gary, I'm really glad you're on this podcast, because you do the art small thing, you do the shop small thing, you're a small business owner, you do the vote small things, you're a local ward leader and community organizer. The only other one we usually throw in is news small, which is, that's a little tougher, right? But that doesn't necessarily mean just local. That means more neutral too. News small being maybe not big corporate news. And we have a couple sources that we recommend. And we're actually going to have the co-founder of one of those on the podcast too. So this is how Citizen Body is trying to tie this all together. And you kind of embody a lot of what we're talking about. So you might have not realized that, but I think it's a great thing that people can see, like living examples, of what we're talking about.